Back in 1983, entrepreneur William von Meister was reeling from a failed technology experiment where he had planned to use telecommunications gear, modems and whatnot, to transmit music to cable companies. He had everything set up and running, but then the cable companies got cold feet because of copyright problems. Well, here he was holding the bag. He had set up this infrastructure, he had all this gear. What was he going to do with it? Well, he saw this video game market and he decided, what if we could transmit video game cartridges directly to consumers that own Atari 2600s? That's what he did by founding Control Video Corporation and releasing the Gameline for the Atari 2600. This is truly a rare relic from right around the time of the North American video game crash, and we're going to take a look at it and take it for a drive right after this.
This video brought to you in part by Tommy and the Order of Cosmic Champions. This exciting and heartwarming coming-of-age Gen X novel is available now. Check the link for more info.
Hey there, and welcome back to GenXGrownUp. I'm John, and I am a GenXGrownUp. Thank you so much for taking the time to click on this video. Yeah, the CVC Gameline was, I think, a pretty revolutionary idea. You gotta remember, this predates the internet, but we had modems, and the idea that William had was, hey, if you have a VCS, you buy this box for 60 bucks. Then you pay a $15 monthly subscription fee. And then finally what you'll do is plug this into your phone line using that internal modem, and you can select from a range of 2,600 titles that you can then download for $1 and then keep playing them for about a week till such time that it expired and you had to dial in and rent it again. The idea is you didn't actually have to pay full price for the game, you owned the game. The estimate in most of the printed material is that you're gonna get about 10 cents per time you play the game, with the estimate of how many times the average player would play a new game over the course of a week. And so you can see how this might have been pretty attractive for parents that saw kids asking for new games constantly, but they didn't want to pay full price for them. Well, the odd thing is, the cost of games dropped precipitously right around 1983, and with the fall in popularity of Atari, so too went CVC and their Gameline module. Now this unit is on loan from me. Once again, my daughter is the manager of a local mom and pop video game store, and this one came across their desk. They took it in on trade. These typically go for between $100 and $200 depending on condition and completion. They've got this one listed for 200 bucks. That's fair-ish, I think. It's maybe a little high for the condition of the box. But since I have the opportunity here to have this on loan, we're gonna take it out of the box, look and see what all's included. It's pretty complete actually, which is pretty neat. And give it a spin as best we can with no landline and no service to connect to any longer, and kind of get an idea of what the experience might have been like if you had had one of these back in 1983. The box on this particular Gameline has certainly seen better days. It looks like somebody had it for sale at a yard sale or something for $2, and if they bought it for $2, man, they got away with an absolute steal. It's pretty chewed up on the side, and it's kind of got some structural integrity problems, but inside is really what is pretty amazing that it's still in such good shape. Look, still in the plastic even. In fact, I think I'm going to slide it out the end here so we can just look at all the contents together. And then we just have this little plastic tray, and inside, so here is the master module. And all of this paperwork is still intact. There's a lot of gems here, but I want to start with a look around this hardware. So let me pull it out of the plastic. Here's the master module that you actually plug into your VCS. So on this side you have a phone plug, a 9-volt battery door goes right in there. On the back, just some legal stuff. If you're a VCS user, this end will look mighty familiar to you. So this is just the main board that plugs directly into the cartridge socket, that slot on the VCS. To get an idea of size, look, here it is next to a 2600 Junior. It's just almost as long and just a little bit narrower. But yeah, it's a big beast. What's probably even tougher to come across is all this printed material still in the plastic and in pristine condition. So let's pull it out and we'll take a look at what we got. Now I know that I'm notorious for throwing away instructions. I'm not going to do that here. That's part of what makes this so cool, that it's still around. So let's see what all we do have. We've got this owner's manual. Now, interestingly, Gameline was originally going to start with games, And they were going to add stuff to it. They were going to have like news line and stock line, sports line, mail line, to be able to do all kinds of online stuff through the modem on your 2600. And I can't imagine reading news or looking at the stock market on my VCS, but they had that idea. They were going to do a forum called Opinion Line. If this had taken off, this could have been almost the internet on your VCS before the internet was around, but ultimately it just wasn't meant to be, and that's why this now is such an interesting relic. This is just a little registration card to mail in for your warranty and that kind of thing. Never done here, and they're not around anymore, so that wouldn't do us a whole lot of good. Next up, so this is really interesting because since you could download all these games, how do you know how to play those games? This is instructions for, I guess, many or maybe all of the games that you could download. Abbreviated instructions. Now, other than the fact that it came out in 1983 in the first place, the things that were against the Gameline probably was the selection of software. Like, they tried to get stuff from major manufacturers, nothing first party, no Atari, and not even big ones like Activision, Mattel, Parker Brothers, so no Frogger or anything. But instead they had to rely on getting games from other third-party developers, not even the major ones. Probably the biggest one they had was a Magic, and you'll see several Magic games referenced in here. For what it's worth, being from 1983, the Master Module has 8 kilobytes of RAM and a 1200 baud modem. I mean, I think I had a 300 baud modem in 1983, so that's pretty impressive. And this last thing is one of those crazy things that they include, but yet would have been amazing to have as a kid. I would have had this in my wallet. And it's not even like a high score on games. They give you a bunch of them. But what goes on here? Look, Academy of Video Arts for Gameline. As a member of the good standing of the Gameline Academy, it's the module serial number, your PIN, and your signature. And like, who's going to ID you? And certainly, why am I going to need, 6 or 7 different copies of this card to prove that I have the thing? I don't know, but yeah, it's nerd cred. Like, I didn't have a credit card when I was a kid, so I would have put one of these in my wallet, absolutely. So we've got all this cool swag, and even though we know this network is not online any longer, let's plug it into an Atari, let's plug it into the TV, and let's at least see what kind of screen we get when plugged into this Gameline Master Module. All right, I've got a battery in the Master Module. I've got it plugged into my 2600 Junior. Let's power it on and see what we get. Oh, that's a little presumptuous that I did not read the manual. I mean, I didn't, but they didn't know that. Read manual and then press reset. All right, now we're not hooked up to an actual landline, and even if we were, there's no one to call anymore, but let's give it a shot. Reset. You're pretending to call someone. Those aren't the actual modem tones, but boop, boop, beep, boop, boop, beep, boop, boop, boop. And then, yeah, we'll be stuck here forever with this cool rainbow cascading animation saying they're trying to call someone. Will it time out eventually? I wonder. Let's see. Oh, now I actually heard a couple of tiny clicks from the internal modem. So, like, it's thinking, it's trying to do something. Let's see if it'll give up eventually. It's persistent, even though there's no phone line connected. Oh, it's trying pulse dialing. Maybe this is the real number. Yeah, so it's just trying to redial again and again and again. So that, I guess that maybe that is the actual touch tone. And at this point we would connect, we'd put in our PIN that's on our little membership card, I guess. And select games and choose them and download them and that kind of thing. And while it's connected, you disconnect from the network and you can actually play the game that you rented or, not quite bought for a few days. I'll say that for my part, I can certainly remember seeing advertisements for the Gameline in like video game magazines around the time, because I was voraciously reading those things. If you couldn't play the game, at least you could read the magazine. You could do that in school if nobody was paying too close of attention to you, which I certainly did, but I never owned one. But I can imagine the attraction of being able to just on a demand, look, it's video on demand today. Nobody thinks twice about, I can watch anything I want, anywhere I want, but gaming wasn't like that. You had to go to a store and find a game and buy it and bring it home. But with the Gameline, that was kind of early sampling of what it was going to be like today in later times to have gaming on demand like we do everywhere. Too bad the poor little Gameline was just ahead of its time and hit at just the wrong time. Hey, I certainly hope you found something to enjoy in this video. Over my shoulders here and here, I'll put some links to some other vintage Atari hardware that we have covered here on Gen X Grown Up. Thanks so much for watching. I can't wait to talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.